Land preparation is a very important process in farming systems. It starts with the process of clearing the farmland. The process involves the removal of unwanted weeds and trees to prevent competition between the crops and weed for nutrients in the soil, which promotes the yield and growth of the crops. Land clearing allows the crop get access to enough sunlight, which is also very important for the growth and development of the crop, and it also prevents the soil from erosion and leaching. Land preparation improves the circulation of water and air into the soil. The land is prepared the way it suits specific crops for high yield. While some crops have similar method of land preparation, and it aims at creating solid environment favorable to the specific plant growth.
The importance of land preparation in agriculture can never be emphasized, in the sense that when land is prepared, it gives well aeration to the soil, it pulverizes the soils, it gives more water holding capacity to the soil, and also it provides a good avenue whereby the plant will have good extensive rooting system, thereby have good anchorage. And then this will result in standing shocks and windstorms during the rainy periods. And also land preparation exposes the larvae, pupa, and of pests and that were buried inside the soil, thereby expose the sunlight and then become dried off. Also, the pathogens of some diseases were exposed and also destroyed by land preparation. This land preparation also gives the opportunity of incorporating the organic manure, the fertilizer, the inorganic fertilizer you want to incorporate into the soil during the land preparation, so that it will be quickly absorbed by the plants when in the early stage of their growth. Also, land preparation enhances the use of remnants of last year's season into the soil. These are the benefits of land preparation in the farming and on the other move.
In preparing land for rice cultivation, the land should be fairly leveled to allow water distribution and retention. For lowland rice, it involves puddling and leveling the field to impound water and permit even flooding. For upland rice, the process of land clearing is the same as cereal crop like maize, soybean, and millet. In rice, nursery preparation is between April and May, depending on the ecology, and for dry season farming, it is from January to mid-February. Upland rice does not require a nursery. Planting is done when the rains are established. The planting methods are broadcasting, dibbling, drilling, and transplanting. But this is done at a recommended spacing. In broadcasting, the seed rate is 80 to 100 kg per hectare with uniform spacing. Dibbling requires a seed rate of 30 to 40 kg per hectare, while transplanting requires a seed rate of 25 kg per hectare.
At what site are we to cultivate our rice? Rice is a crop that can grow on different ecologies. There is what we call upland rice that can grow in places where you are growing your maize, sorghum, and millet, while there is what we call lowland rice, which is very good in places that has a lot of water, that can retain a lot of moisture. In those places, if places are waterlogged, some rice varieties can do very well on such soils. But some crops cannot do well if the place has too much water. But there are rice varieties that can tolerate waterlogged conditions. So if your rice is lowland rice, you can select sites that are lowland in nature. But if your rice is upland rice, you have to select a well-drained field that cannot hold water like the lowland rice. So the varieties that you are going to cultivate for rice is important in selecting your site that you want to cultivate. So after selecting the site, whether it is upland site or lowland condition, then we have to select the correct seed that can be cultivated. By land preparation, we mean we have to plow the land. After plowing, we harrow it. After harrowing, then we level it very well for rice. Region is not very important for the cultivation of rice. We don't construct ridges for rice. We plant our rice on the flat. So after this land preparation, the rice seeds are also diverse. There are rice seeds that are tolerant for upland condition, that is the upland rice, and also there are rice that are suitable for lowland condition, that is the lowland rice varieties. For example, if you can plant Nerika 1 to Nerika 8, they are all upland rice. And there are farrow varieties that are tolerant to lowland condition. For example, farrow 44 is very good for lowland condition. If you can get farrow 40, farrow 44, they are rice that are good for lowland condition. For rice, there are 4 essential ways of planting rice. The commonest method of planting rice is after land preparation. You just spread your seed of rice and throw it around the field. We call that method broadcasting. That is one, which is the simplest method. The second method is that we can dibble. Just as you are planting your maize, you can plant your rice on spots, just as you are planting your rice. At 20 centimeters between each hole, you plant your rice. 20 centimeter between row and 20 centimeter between stand. That one we call it dibbling. That is a second method of planting rice. Another method for planting rice is what we call drilling. You draw a straight line on the field, 20 centimeters apart. Inside the lines that you draw, you sprinkle your seeds of rice and you cover. That one is known as drilling. Then the fourth method of planting rice is by raising rice seedlings inside what we call nursery. You grow them in the nursery, not for long, just for 2 weeks. After the rice has emerged, after 2 weeks, you take these young seedlings and you transplant. That method is transplanting rice, is another method of planting rice. But if you want to have very good rice and you have a lowland condition, transplanting rice tend to be the best among the 4 different methods.
For soybean, the land is well prepared with firm seed bed which can be achieved by plowing and harrowing for proper root growth, aeration and vegetative growth. The best time for sowing soybean is when the rains are well established. Soybean should always be sown in rows and drilling, which gives the best performance and yield in soybean. It tolerates high densities and close spacing with seed rates varying from 50 to 75 kg per hectare. The recommended time for planting soybean is from early June to early July in moist swamp and southern Guinea savanna and Sudan savanna. It is from mid-June to early July. In selecting your site for maize farming, note that maize needs a lot of sunshine and warmth. It also requires a precipitation of 600 to 1000 mm with deep medium textured, well-drained fertile soil, high water holding capacity, and pH range of 5.5 to 8.0. Maize crops require a fairly light temperature in order to germinate, and it is sensitive to wind damage because of its size and width of its leaves. For these reasons, therefore, ridges are required to support the plant. Maximum tillage of the land has been extensively tested and adopted as tilling loses the soil, kills the weeds, and improves the circulation of water and air into the soil. The time for sowing is the most critical factor for effective maize yield. If sown early, it will mature in rains and this will affect the quality of the grains, and when sown late, it will result in poor yield. Maize should be sown as soon as rains are established. The seed range is 20 to 25 kg per hectare and the spacing is 75 cm inter-row spacing to 1 plant per hole. In selecting your seeds for farming, it is important to select good quality and pure seeds from reliable sources such as Agricultural Research Institutes, Agricultural Development Programs ADPs, seed companies, and accredited agro dealers.
There is only one method of planting maize, that is by dibbling. And you dibble by planting at 25 centimeters apart, 1 seed per hole at 25 centimeters apart. Then the site selection for maize is very important to select a very good site that is very fertile, because maize needs a fertile soil and a soil that is well drained. Don't go and plant on clayey soil. If the place is clayey, water will stay on the place and it will kill your maize. So well-drained soils are very suitable for maize. And don't go and look for a place that is rocky and having plenty stones, which make it difficult to weed your farm and so on. Select soils that are sandy loam and that are fertile. That is the best site for the cultivation of maize. So after you have got a very good site, there are very diverse varieties of maize. You have to look for the type of maize that you want to grow. Some maize are good for popping, that is popcorn. There is one maize we call sweet corn, which you can even eat it raw because of sweetness. So that one, it can be roasted. And there are what we call dent corn, the one that when it dries, you will see a small dent on top of the grain. That one is good for making flour. Similarly, there are different varieties. Is it white maize you want, or is it yellow maize? Depending on what the farmer wants, will select the seed that he wants. There are what we call improved seeds in the market. There is what we call hybrid seed that used to give you higher yield. But the hybrid seed needs a lot of care. It needs a lot of fertilizer, more than what we call open pollinated maize. The open pollinated maize, you can get open pollinated maize in places like IAR. There are a lot of varieties, some as 1 to about 20-something SAMAS varieties of maize are there, which IAR are producing and selling. But if you want to have hybrid maize, you have to go to our seed companies. As I mentioned, the planting technique for maize is only one. You only plant maize by dibbling. You can do it manually, or you can use hand planters, or you can use machine drag planters. There are different types of planters that can be used to plant your maize.
The success of crop production begins with your choice of seed, land preparation, and the adherence to good agronomic practices. For this reason, therefore, the Agra NAERLS CBA project is training thousands of farmers in Kaduna and Niger states through a series of capacity building exercises. This is done with the aim of equipping these farmers with skills on good agronomic practices that will enable them become community-based advisors to several farmers in their communities and also help in bridging the gap between agri-extension agents and farmers. The project is focusing on improving the productivity of maize, rice, and soybean farmers in the two states. With this approach by the project, there is no doubt that productivity of these three commodities as well as farmers' income will significantly increase, leaving the farmers satisfied and the nation moving a step forward in achieving its goal of being food secured.